hear a loud boom earlier today? Several people heard and felt a loud noise around 12:30 Central Time this afternoon.
All over Carter County took to social media about a loud boom that shook their homes and workplaces around 10:15 this morning.
I heard and felt it. As of now, there's no official word on the source. Law enforcement doesn't believe it's criminal.
Over the past week, we have received several emails from people in Louisville about loud booms of a house-shaking experience.
I've never heard anything like it. When I walked outside and, the stars and there wasn't a cloud in the sky, so I figured it wasn't that.
Today I wanted to talk to you about the strange sounds that are heard around the world, or were heard, because this is coming from 2012. The sounds that I'm talking about, right?
I call that the dark year.
The dark, yeah, the dark, man. Let's not bring up any bad memories. So here are my theories. I didn't research any theories that people have online. I only researched the videos, I researched the sounds, see what people are saying, but these are my theories. And I have 5 of them. Theory number 1 is that the sounds are actually aliens. I actually heard that a lot of people have the same... Huh?
These are the horns, right? Like the horn-like sounds that people were hearing in the sky. Well, some people were hearing in the sky, and
I heard it myself. I actually heard it myself. I remember one time walking out onto my balcony, and I heard it.
Oh, same here. I heard them twice, actually. And funny enough, it was actually at my mom's house that I heard them. The first time,
yeah, I remember you told me that.
Me and my brother heard them, and then the second time, it was my brother, my husband, and my mother were there. So it was like, okay, I know I'm not going crazy because we're all hearing these sounds.
Yeah. Now it's funny that you mentioned horns, because I have another theory, and I'm gonna skip. Let me see. I'm gonna skip theory 2, and I'm gonna go straight to theory 1. And theory 3. And theory 3 is the rapture. A lot of people were under the suspicion that these sounds are basically the heavens, or supposedly angels, that are playing these horns that signify the coming of the rapture, or the coming of the Antichrist, or the coming of the apocalypse. That was a big theory that I had, and that I also find a lot of people have online.
All right, let's dissect this theory. Dissect this theory, because you're a skeptic, right?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, the idea of angels on a cloud with a horn and just kind of sounding off.
Well, I mean, here's what I think. A lot of people say, like, let's talk about the concept of heaven. Heaven is either literally in the clouds, and you just got to get to it, or it's more like a dimension that you enter, right? I feel like that's more like what it is. And these sounds represent the coming of something bad. You know what I mean? Mind you, we had a horrible year that year, so I'm pretty sure it actually came. But
2012 was not a good year.
It was not a good year for anyone. At least anyone that I knew. But that's one theory. The second theory that I had was that, and this is surprisingly a popular theory, that it was supposedly a camouflaged alien ship. Because you know how a lot of people say, like, the government is in communication with aliens, and then there's that footage from that Canadian politician that literally live inside of some kind of a conference, he said that the governments of the world are working with aliens. The United States is working with 3 of them.
UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying overhead. That gave me the dubious distinction of being the first person of cabinet rank in the G8 group of countries to say so unequivocally. And the American people and the people of the world have a right to know what's going on because they're part of it. It's not just an isolated thing.
So a lot of people thought that those sounds were hovering, camouflaged alien ships that you couldn't see. Obviously, they were camouflaged. But that was basically them sounding off their presence, even though we couldn't see them. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I don't think it was aliens, although I mean it's a possibility, but there is something weird to it because those sounds, they were heard in different areas of the world, all around the world. And at least when I heard the sounds, the 2 times that I heard the sounds, it was very interesting because we actually went outside, and I found something I found very interesting, that although we went outside to hear the sounds, because it's a normal human reaction, right? If you hear something that's really alien, that you don't recognize, you tend to go outside and be curious about it. For the most part, I mean, there's some people.
But I'm gonna give you this benefit of the example, because obviously we're not hearing crunching and stream. We're just seeing this weird sound coming from the sky. So
I mean, you're hearing. And again, I think we played the sounds at the beginning of this podcast so that everybody had an idea of what they sounded like. But they sound like a horn mixed with like a jet engine. It's like a weird sound. But the thing is, when I heard them, I went outside, and by my mother's house there's like a big lake, and I found it very odd because I could hear the sound distinctly as if it were above the lake, but it was so, like, the cloud cover was so thick, which is very unusual for where I live, and just thick in clouds. You couldn't see anything past the clouds.
I agree. I remember that day too, that it was a really cloudy day. I think it had just rained, but it drizzled. But there were like dark clouds, like a storm was coming, but it never actually came. It was almost like the clouds were there to camouflage something. It was weird.
Yeah, it was very weird, and it did seem like it was like they were camouflaging something, because they were like thick.
Well, no, I think camouflaging was. I think it was like
clouds.
covering up something. Yeah.
Oh, either or. I mean,
yeah,
it was just thick, and for no reason. I mean, it was bright, sunny, no rain, and bright only above the lake. Right when I heard the sounds.
Yeah.
It was only above the lake. It wasn't like there was big cloud blanket all over the place, just in that area. And then as we're hearing the sounds, it sounded like it was circling, because it would, at one point, the decibels would get louder closer to us, and then it would dissipate like a plane passing by you overhead, and it would dissipate, but then it would get louder again. So it felt like it was going in circles, whatever it was, because I don't really know what it was. So I found it very, very strange, and it lasted a good while. But I think the strangest thing that I always found very curious about this incident is nobody else came outside. There's nobody else in the balcony, nobody else like driving by bothered to stop to hear nothing. It was like nobody was curious about it.
It was almost like the people initially around you, whether it be family, friends, or strangers, they just like it's almost like they didn't hear it, which is, you know what? I don't know if you ever saw this one movie. I forget what it's called, but it was a religious film made by that child actor from Disney. I think it was Growing Pains. The concept of rapture, right? The rapture is basically only those that are worthy, those that were good in life, those that didn't commit sins. Those are the ones that would technically be swept up and be protected, right? You know, the philosophy in religion where, like, when the end of days come, those who were good are the ones that will be saved, and those that will not be saved are the ones that stay here, right? So it's funny that you mentioned that, because the idea that you heard it, I heard it. I'm not saying that we're good. I'm not saying we're good, but it was just awkward that I had people around me, you had people around you, but no one was paying any attention or any never mind to it at all. It was just weird.
It's very curious, and I wonder if, like, one of my theories is if maybe those sounds work at a certain decibel, because everybody's hearing is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so some people hear certain decibels where other people cannot. And the sounds, they sound like they're a very low decibel, like kind of like a bass sound.
It's definitely a bass or a very distant trumpet. It was like the sound to me sounded like a trombone, but very big and powerful and full of bass. That just, it's almost like it was as loud as, you know, those emergency sounds, like when you live next to like a nuclear plant, or if there's like a state of emergency.
Oh, like the sirens.
Like the sirens.
Like the emergency.
But it was that
state of emergency sirens.
Exactly. It was that loud.
Yeah.
But now there's another theory that I have on my paper here, and that is mind control. The last theory is the craziest one, so I'm gonna leave that one alone for the moment. But the next theory was mind control, and of course it has to do with the government. Needless to say, that's a very popular theory, because a lot of people feel like the government is trying to control everyone via the media, subliminal messages in, you know, TV, music, and then there are these strange sounds. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't really think that was the case. It's just a theory that a lot of people tend to agree with online. I don't subscribe to this one, but I don't know. What do you think about that one?
It's a little like, I don't think it's mind control. Like the idea of mind control through some kind of weird sound is just, to me, it's just ludicrous. And that's saying something, considering that I'm a believer in ghosts and things like that. So
yeah,
pretty sure, like, but maybe that it could be some kind of government's project. One of the theories that I read online was that it could be something dealing with HAARP.
Oh, yes.
About weather control.
Another theory. I completely forgot about that. That wasn't part of this list, but I completely forgot about that. We spoke about that way back in the day when we first heard these sounds. HAARP, you mentioned it because supposedly the government was working on a machine to try and control the weather or manipulate the weather. And yeah.
Yeah, I'll read you what the HAARP program was.
You're gonna look it up? You know, while you look that up real quick, we're just gonna play this clip. So what did you find? Did you find the HAARP?
Yeah, so Project HAARP, or short for High Altitude Research Project, was a joint project of the United States Department of Defense and Canada's Department of National Defense, created with the goal of studying ballistics of re-entry vehicles at low cost.
Re-entry vehicles at low cost?
So...
What do you mean? Like are you talking about re-entry into...
It was started in 1961, and it was a joint technical endeavor of McGill University Space Research Institute. So,
not a lot of information.
A lot of information, but not like that really. So the idea was that the key concept was the use of an oversized gun firing an undersized vehicle mounted in a sabot. That already just sounds
what? Hold on. Let me say back to you what I just heard. A gigantic gun shooting out a vehicle, or is it more like a vehicle-sized thing?
An undersized vehicle.
An actual vehicle.
So it'd be a smaller vehicle.
I'm not really leaning towards this one. Like a rail gun.
It's possible. The problem I have with this is that, although it's an interesting theory, and again, if they're working with ballistics and they're working with anything that would create any kind of sonic sounds or things like that, I can see how we could have been hearing, reverberation or a consequence of that testing. But my question is then, why am I hearing it in a little, community neighborhood on one side of the world, and then there are people hearing it all the way in Budapest, and people hearing it in Russia, and people hearing it in Romania, and all these other locations in the world. So, this one test, are they testing it in different locations around the world, or was it isolated testing here in the United States? And if so, why so many different locations?
The only thing I could think of is that it's atmospheric testing, and yeah, they're doing it in different locations. That's the only thing that can come to my head. It makes sense as to why you would hear it in so many places here in the U.S. Now, as far as why you would hear it in so many other places outside the U.S., that's so this is what it is. My partner here just showed me an image.
You see, it's...
from, and you know what? I'm gonna put this image up so that everyone can see. So this looks like a gigantic. It looks like a gigantic rocket, but it's, oh my god. So look at this one.
Honestly, it looks like a homemade potato gun, like a giant potato gun.
This one
That's
here looks like it is old
pipe.
and decrepit, and like it wasn't a good project. I don't think it lasted. But this makes no sense though, because
the design of it wouldn't make the sound that we heard.
It would absolutely not make the sound. This is more like a gun, like a big sudden boom, and then you would hear the echoes and it would fade away, but that was it. But the other things were just otherworldly.
Yeah, like this sound was more of a sustained burst. Like it was a sustained sound. Like the best description I could give it, it just sounded like a jet engine, like some kind of jet plane in the sky. Someone that had like a weird, unique, different, new sounding engine, and it was just circling.
That Budapest one that I played earlier for the audience sounded more like an explosion than led into a growl. It was weird, but it was
yeah. Like, they're different in different locations, so it's really weird because different locations have different sounds.
Some locations had really higher pitch ones.
But and again, going back to the decibel thing, what's interesting is if you look at some of those YouTube videos, and I have to wonder if some of those videos are maybe fake.
It's a big
and the sound was added after because the thing is that a lot of them, you see you're hearing the sound and you see people driving down, and no one stops, no one comes out to look. Like, how does in a vastly populated area, how does no one, not a single soul, come out and just look up and be like, where is that sound coming from?
So here's a theory as to why I think it might not have been a fake. And the reason why is because, number one, why would anyone want to fake it at all? Why would anyone go through the trouble of faking this? Number two, it was all over the news. Like there were some news channels that actually spoke on behalf of these sounds, and they were baffled as well. And three, if it really was made by someone and it was faked, what will be the purpose of doing it if not to get attention? No one ever came out to claim to claim credit for these sounds. You know what I mean? Like, for example, back in the old days where we would find crop circles, right? Everyone thought they were aliens, super weird, right? And then eventually, I think it was one or two or three people came out and took credit for it and basically showed the media how they did it, right? What's the point of doing these stunts if not to get credit or to get publicity or to get noticed? No one ever came forward. So that's why I think there's no way it was a purposeless stunt. Know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. Well, it's one of the theories that I have, personally, that I was looking at is and I've never had the chance to cross-reference if this was actually coincidentally like if it all connected, but I was wondering if maybe these sounds were appearing in locations and in ley line points.
No, not landline. Ley line.
No,
yeah.
ley line. So I don't know if you're familiar
I've
with
come
ley line.
across the term. I've heard it in movies too.
Yeah. So ley lines are alignments of landmarks, like religious sites and man-made structures, and it's like a pseudoscience, but basically the theory is that the apparent lines are interconnected and they're not accidental positions. They're like key positions on the planet that have like high magnetic fields.
Kind of like the Egyptian pyramids and the pyramids of Peru, and maybe the pyramids of actually wait, the Machu Picchu is Peru, right? Well, I don't want to sound like an idiot, but you know what I mean. Like the different pyramids of the different countries all seem to lay on some sort of ley line that interconnect them when you put them on a map. So
yeah,
which is bizarre on its own.
It is bizarre, and funny enough, like a lot of these ley lines have like, again, many of them have high magnetic fields in those areas. So electrical equipment acts funky, and animals act weird in those areas and things like that. So I wonder, and again, I never had the chance to cross-reference the positioning of where these sounds happen, but I wonder if maybe majority of these sounds, or if not all of them, actually happened in key positions of ley lines.
I've never researched into it, but you know what? I guess we're gonna we're gonna have to research into that, and maybe we'll like add that onto this this podcast. Like once we finish it, we'll do our research, and if we come across it, we'll just let people know towards the end of the video if we found any like common ground between the ley lines and the sounds. Yeah, it's gonna need quite a bit of research. So there's one final theory on my list. I don't know if you have any theories of your own, but here's the final theory on my list. Now this one's the most bizarre, but the theory is that it's the Earth itself. What? It could be the tectonic plates moving on their own. It could.
So the tectonic plates underneath our feet that shift and create tremors are now screaming out above the sky. It's
not as crazy as you might think. Well, when you put it like that, anything could sound crazy. But but think about it. It could be sounds that the Earth. Well, think of it like this. The Earth has been around for millions of years, right? So a year, for billions of years. You're right. I didn't think big enough. Billions of years. So the Earth has been around for billions of years. The span of a year is just an insignificant fraction of a second on this time scale. All right. So what if every time there are major shifts or major geological events that take place during the lifetime of the planet, every time that they happen, these sort of occurrences occur? And this is the very first time that we're hearing it. Because remember, a year, 2 years, 10 years, 100 years, 500 years is a tiny, insignificant speck of a moment in the grand scale of time that the Earth has been around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the problem I have with that is if these sounds were something generated by the Earth itself, then
and it also
everything is cyclical. Everything is cyclical. Yeah. Tremors are cyclical. They happen. They shift.
Keep in mind also that would explain why we might have heard it everywhere. Not everywhere, but I mean like all over the place.
It could explain it, but it also doesn't explain why we only heard them then.
Yeah.
There's no record of these sounds happening before, even as far back as thousands of years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, society has not been, like humanity has not been around for as long as we might think. And remember, there's new things being recorded all the time.
In comparison to the life of the planet, yeah, we're only a speck as how long we've been here, but still, like, to just hear them. I mean, we heard them that year, and I think we were hearing them for maybe 2 years. I think they ran on from 2011 to 2012. I think there was a 1 or 2 recurrence in 2015,
really?
if I'm not mistaken.
Well,
but
what
since
about
then,
13
it's
and
been
14?
silence.
It was silent.
As far as I know, as far as I'm aware, there were no reports.
And then after 15, I've never heard it again.
it's it's just strange. It doesn't feel like something that would be natural. Like, it feels, and like you said, it feels alien. It seems alien. It's an unnatural sound, in my opinion. I can't think of anything of earthly origin that would make those kind of sounds. And a lot of stuff can be explained by that, So you have so many sounds that are really weird and strange, for example, in jungles and everything, that are usually animals. But you're talking about a sound that just travels not just a couple of feet or a couple of yards. It travels miles. Yeah. You're hearing it above you, you're not hearing it around you. You're hearing it above you. Like, it's really strange. It's very strange.
But more specifically, you're hearing it above you, coming from all directions.
From all directions.
Yeah, it's not like
you don't
it's
know
not like
what direction.
It's not like there's like
from.
an explosion that you hear coming from the north or the east. It's like all around you, but above. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's extremely strange. It is honestly a mystery that.
Do you have any theories of your own?
Other than the whole, like, I honestly think it was some kind of, like, I think it was maybe some kind of test, maybe a government test, maybe a military test.
The logistics
but again,
behind
it doesn't explain
the logistics behind it being a government test. First of all, what government? And if it was our government, then, man, to be able to do that test, like, everywhere, I mean, that would require
our tax money at work.
Is hard at work, and that money's on fire. So, like,
I mean, I guess the quick jump theory to, like, go to is honestly just aliens that can create
subscribe
cloud
to
cover.
that one. As crazy as it might seem, I subscribe to that one.
But why? Why do that? Why go into random cities around the world under the cover of clouds and make giant horn sounds? Like, what purpose?
I like to think of it like this. Our government supposedly has been in communication with aliens, right? But in secret. The public doesn't 100% know this. You'll find some aluminum hat wearing people who will say yes, but really no. So really, when you think about it, we don't know if there really are aliens, if this is something that they would do, what's the purpose behind them doing it. So why is it so easy to dismiss it?
I don't know. I feel like here we've had, like, a role reversal, because here I'm
normally
being the skeptic.
Normally you're the one and I'm the skeptic, but I think, like, we've reversed roles on this one.
Here we got switched around, because and it's funny enough, I am a believer in aliens, but I just it's like I can't jump to the first conclusion, and for me it's like,
I got 5 right here, so I got 5 conclusions right here.
Like, these are my 5 facts.
5 facts. I love you say it's like, these aren't my 5 thoughts on what I think. No, these are 5 facts. It could very well actually be these 5.
It was aliens who can create cloud cover, pretending to be angels, calling out the rapture.
Earth do it.
Making the earth do it.
Yeah, I think ultimately I think that ultimately is just very weird. And if anyone listening to the podcast has never heard these sounds, I'm going to leave a link in the description to the video that is here on YouTube. It's basically just a culmination of all the videos of all the different people that have uploaded it, but just all in one video. I don't remember if the video has news footage. But I think if you just Google strange sounds around the world and you type in news footage.
Well, we'll leave a link in the description below to the ones that we played earlier in the opening.
I'm just gonna leave the link on the below. Yeah, don't even bother searching. I'll leave everything there so that if anyone is interested in looking at it, they can just click on it and see it.
But it's a weird, it's a strange, mystery. It is like
exactly.
What is
like,
the sound?
Also, I just want to put out there for anyone listening to the podcast, if you did hear this anywhere or by your house, leave it in the comments and let us know about it. Maybe even do a
your
video
story.
response so that
let us know that we're not crazy, because we can't be the only two people on this planet that heard this.
Weren't the only two people on the planet that heard it.
I had witnesses.
But
this is true.
I haven't had a lot of talking with people that have heard of it, that have heard it. They've seen the videos. Yeah. Of course, everyone has seen the videos. But I never actually had a conversation with someone that has actually heard it themselves. So, I mean, other than you, Nisa, of course, and the people that, like my girl heard it because she was with me. I know that your boyfriend also heard it. So, yeah.
He didn't believe me the first time. It was
the second time that when he actually heard it, right?
Yeah, it was the second time. He just happened to be with me the second time. We were again at my mom's place, and it happened. So then I was just like, "Ha,
we're not crazy.
I'm not crazy."
All right, so yeah, that's I think that's pretty much it. I mean, unless we have anything that we forgot to add.
No, I mean this sounds will remain a mystery until we know more. Well, I'm hoping they actually come back, because it'd be interesting to see if more people hear them. We can try to figure out
if
what
anyone
it is.
else listening to this podcast, if you have information regarding to the ley lines that we mentioned earlier, and if you end up cross-referencing them with the locations that these sounds were heard, let us know. Maybe you'll beat us to the punch and you'll get that information.
Oh yeah, please share that with us.
Maybe we're not the only people that have had this conversation. Maybe someone's already done the cross-referencing. And let us know. Leave a link in the comments. Leave the conversation in the comments so that we can check them out, and hopefully get more information about it. All right. So I think this is it.
All right, guys. So we'll see you on the next Urban Mysteries, guys.